Welcome to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and unauthorized.tv. Tonight we're going to talk about how alphas always roll the dice. What am I talking about? Well, of course, I'm talking about what British Prime Minister Boris Johnson did today. A remarkably bold step that literally nobody saw coming. Nobody saw on the way. Anyhow, thanks for tuning in tonight. A little bit late. Been a little bit busy. Owen has been falsely accusing me. Apparently his mustache disappeared. I had nothing to do with it. I disavow mustache thievery. I suspect somebody with very small hands and possibly very small hat. Anyhow, welcome to you all. And what we're talking about with regards to Boris Johnson is he did something that you just don't see politicians very much, which is he put it on the line and basically told his putative allies that either they side with him or he is going to deselect them. Now, it's a parliamentary system. And so what that means is that a lot of these guys, they can run for their seats in parliament from anywhere. And so different members of the party will be assigned to different constituencies. And so it's easy for them to get people elected when they want them to. But they have to have the party's approval. And so what he has done is he has told people that they're going to, no, you're not unsubbing, John. You're banned permanently. I don't give a flying fuck about this green guy. You know, if you're a follower of his, go away. Couldn't care less about the guy. No, I know very little about him and care even less. Anyhow, welcome, James Pyrich. So what Johnson did, and welcome, Okie Bear. What Johnson did is really astonishing because nobody expected him to come out and say, we are leaving on August 31st, no matter what. No extensions, no begging the EU for more time. We are leaving at this point in time. Boom. And so this has caused all kinds of nonsense. And just like Trump, Johnson, by the sheer virtue of calling a spade, by the sheer virtue of telling the truth about what he intended to do, then he forces people to reveal themselves. Like, for example, the Speaker of the House of Parliament, John Bercow, is this absolute sleazeball who is constantly bending the rules, totally failing to respect the traditional role, and absolutely refusing to be impartial. Yeah, well, you're banned. So you can tell a fake bear because he calls himself Jonestown Bear. See, that's a clever way of trying to imply that it's a cult. Ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. One man's chorus says, isn't Johnson an omega? He always looks like he woke up 5 minutes ago. No, Johnson is absolutely an alpha. I mean, the guy is constantly having affairs with relatively attractive people from the political world. And in fact, he's now dating a woman who is like 20 something. You know, I mean, he may look ridiculous. You know, he looks like a bumbling um, a bumbling fool. But look at his behavior. No wonder he's considered to be a leader. No wonder he's somebody that people believe would eventually become prime minister someday. He was the president of whatever the student council or whatever the desirable thing was at Oxford. And so, Dragon Ken says, is fluffy hair a reliable sign of alphadom now? Well, I don't know, but Trump's got it. Boris Johnson's got it. And so, welcome, Meister Bear. I mean, clearly, Boris Johnson has an amount of game. Clearly. And so when you look at the way that he's acting now, you can really see the alpha coming out, because what do alphas do? They seek conflict. They take it on head on. So he's not playing around. He's not dancing around, always trying to put off the conflict in the hope that the situation will improve. He's just driving right towards it. Welcome, Sam Proshansky. Welcome, Sam. And so, it's very important to understand, and this is actually useful. We can, to a certain extent, somewhat anticipate how these leaders are going to behave on the basis of their place in the socio-sexual hierarchy. Trump has been focused, on, and heading into the conflict since he got elected, even before he got elected. Boris Johnson is directly taking on conflict so intense that nobody expected it at all. Oh, this is interesting. Hey, Vox, Ramsey Paul weighed in on your blog post regarding Z-Man's prediction. Z-Man predicted Elizabeth Warren is going to be the next president, just so you know. He said he respects Vox Day, but he thinks the Trump slide prediction is delusional. He cites demographics and old whites dying off. I like Ramsey Paul. I don't have anything bad to say about him. I disagree with him, obviously. And all I will say is, how many of these people who are saying that Trump is going to fail to win re-election correctly predicted that he was going to win the first time? None of them. I predicted that Trump would win. He did win, and I am predicting that he is going to win by a bigger margin in the Electoral College in 2020 than he did in 2016. The demographics and the old whites doesn't matter. Why? Because whites are moving towards the Republican Party. They're not necessarily doing it in a way that you can see through the media, but this is a development that I predicted back in 2004. The Republican Party is becoming the white party. The Democratic Party is becoming the not white party. And there's a lot more white voters than there are not white voters. So, but we'll see. There's only one way to find. Oh, here we go. Owen Benjamin says the mustache has been found. It was Shapiro. It's okay, Owen. Ego te absolvo. I forgive you. Let's see here. Paraplegic Bear says, we can sell an extra seat in Portland due to me bringing my own. Keep crushing Vox. I will talk to Owen and the organizers about it at some point. But the thing that's important to understand about what Boris is doing here, and I can't emphasize this enough, what he's doing is utterly shocking to the entire British political class. Nobody expected this. Not Nigel Farage, not the other Tories, definitely not Tony Blair and Jeremy Corbyn and the new Labourites, the old Labourites, etc., etc. Everybody's astonished. I didn't see this coming at all. I didn't think that he had that level of steel in his spine. Is Boris a nationalist? No, he's like Trump. He's a civic nationalist. Um, you know, Trump and Johnson are not going to save their countries. They're not capable of self into thinking, oh, they're going to do this. It's just not going to happen. That's not what they do. That's not who they are. But that doesn't mean that we can't learn very well from what they're doing and how they're doing it. And so let's hit a couple super chats here. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. Bathory Bear says testing, testing. Lionshare Logo says you visit heaven. You're with the one known as the Alpha and Omega. The two questions you ask him and why. The first question I ask him is, what was the purpose of creation? And the second question is, what do you want me to do now? And then Muffhead says, looking forward to meeting bears in Portland. Oh, okay. And we're caught up. So, oh, no, there we go. Frank Underwood said, reminds me of that quote you had from the Dalai Lama. Prayer is good. Meditation is good. Action is better. And an SDL quote, fail faster so you learn what does not work. Yeah, I mean, oh, and Thomas said, oh, hey, congratulations to the Big Bear. All cities are now sold out except for Idaho. 3 out of the 4 are now sold out. Idaho will be sold out soon. And now we're going to get the video stuff and the t-shirt stuff up this week so that everybody who's not there can support it. Hang on. No need to do that in your ears. Thomas W. says, thanks for everything you do, Vox. Any advice for someone just starting to lift weights? Just get your program and stick to it regularly. You can lift more often when you're first getting started. I used to lift 3 times a week. Actually, I used to lift, first I lifted 3 times a week, and then I lifted 5 times a week, but splitting up the, sort of the pushing groups and the pulling groups. So I do the pushing exercises, chest, shoulders, triceps. We do those Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday do the pull-ups, arms, that kind of stuff. Is it possible to gain muscles while dieting? Yes, at the very beginning. You've got so little muscle development now that even if you're dieting, you'll probably build up some. Just make sure that you're getting plenty of protein. Also, do you think there will be another Republican president in 2024? I don't know. Too soon to even think about that. Are you going to be able to buy BB Special? Yes. That's one of the things that we're going to have on sale very soon. So, let's see here. Are you Owen's alpha? No, I'm no one's alpha. I'm not an alpha. Let's see. I would ask God for lotto numbers. Anyhow, when you look at the way that, let me see here. Do you think Trump is waiting to see if Elizabeth Warren is the Democratic nominee so he can forgive all student loan debt? That's the only bullet in her campaign platform. Possibly. He's already signaled that he's going to do it. The fact that he's done it for the vets means there's a decent chance that he's going to expand that program. And it's probably too soon to do it now. But, the thing that we learn from watching these alphas in action is the way that they steer into conflict. They don't run from it. They embrace it. And so when you are constantly trying to extend the time, it's like watching a football coach. He doesn't play for the win. I'll give you an example of one of the worst coaching decisions I ever saw while watching the NFL. Dennis Green was the Minnesota Vikings coach, and they were playing against, I think it was Barry Switzer's Cowboys. So these are the Cowboys who were on that roll of winning, like 3 Super Bowls in 4 years or something like that. And they had Troy Aikman, they had Emmitt Smith, who was it? Michael Irvin, the receiver. Just a fantastic team, Super Bowl winning team. And the Vikings were playing really well and managed to score, and there was virtually no time left. And I couldn't believe it when Dennis Green sent the kicking team in. Why would you play for overtime against a superior team? You've got a chance. You've got a chance to win it. 2-point conversion. The odds of making a 2-point conversion are better than 50%. What are your chances of beating the Super Bowl champions in overtime? Not good. They're a better team. They kicked the extra point, tied the game, went to overtime, promptly got blown out in overtime, lost the game. That's what most people do. That's what Deltas do. That's what that's what the average man is going to do. He's afraid to embrace the moment of truth. The alpha, on the other hand, looks for the moment of truth. He seeks to force it. Now, if he's smart, he seeks to force it when things are advantageous. But regardless, he understands that simply buying more time is not going to necessarily be to his advantage. He was who he thought he was. Classic. Would you consider having Martin Van Creveld on to discuss the Peninsular Wars? That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I would certainly enjoy that. We certainly couldn't do it now. I guarantee you Martin's been asleep for hours, but don't alphas need to be careful that they don't seek excessive conflict? Yeah, some of them do. Some people do. Some alphas do pursue conflict excessively, but most people don't. And so, it's always very important to judge what is to your advantage now and what is not. Obviously there are great leaders who did exactly the opposite thing. Fabius Maximus, who defeated Hannibal, was called the delayer because he won by refusing to give battle. Hannibal was constantly trying to give battle, and Fabius Maximus wouldn't give it to him because he knew that sooner or later Hannibal was going to have to leave the Italian peninsula. And he was right. That was how he won. Another example is Wellington in the Peninsular Wars. He always avoided battle unless he was able to put himself in a strong defensive position and make the enemy come to him where he had the advantage. He knew he couldn't afford to lose a battle. If he lost a single battle, then the war was over. So he only gave battle when it was sufficiently to his advantage that he felt confident that he was going to win, or at least be able to retreat successfully without losing his army. So there are times when you need to not directly seek out conflict. A smart alpha is not always doing a direct frontal charge, but as Johnson is showing, you have to be willing to embrace the conflict when the proper time presents itself. And this is the proper time, because Johnson knows that if the Remainers are forced to take it to a general election, the advantage is his. He's going to win. And that's why the Remainers are so desperate, because they can't play what should be their strongest card, which is ending his government. Johnson is at the head of a very, very weak government. They may not even have a true majority in the British Parliament. But the other side can't do anything about it, because if they do force a vote of no confidence, they just go right to a general election, and Boris comes back with an even stronger hand. So that's why you want to do that. Bathory Bear says, feed the bear on unauthorized. Oh, fed the bear on unauthorized. Thank you, Bathory Bear. Here is some direct support. I'm happy to contribute to this awesome community. Well, we're happy to have you, and we appreciate the support. Do you think the National Front will win in the next French elections? Most likely, it depends on who they select as a leader. No, neither I nor Owen, to the best of my knowledge, get off on Trump's Zogdong. But that's certainly a pleasant way to describe it. I guess you guys can wish that Hillary had been president, because obviously Hillary Clinton would be even less likely to get involved in Israel's wars, right? I mean, do you have any idea how stupid it is to criticize Trump for his support of Israel? Who's the alternative? What's the alternative? It's not better. Hang on. False alarm. Is there anything we can do to help Salvini? No, he'll be fine. He's still the most powerful guy in Italy. The cracks in the Rosso Verde alliance are already showing. I didn't realize how bad the deal was for Cinque Stelle. In fact, do you realize that the guy that they moved out, the guy who is considered to be the big loser, was Cinque Stelle's leader, Di Maio? He was their top guy. So in order to make this deal, they had to get rid of their top guy and promise all this stuff to the communists. This is not going to go well. Their followers are going to, I think a lot of Cinque Stelle followers are going to move over to support La Liga and Salvini. Yes, Salvini will be even stronger. I believe so. Let's see here. Well, it's not just that Hillary Clinton was even more of a Israel supporter, but she was happy to get involved in any war that anybody wanted. People are not giving Trump the credit that is due him. He kept the U.S. out of war with Russia over Ukraine. He kept us out of war in Venezuela. He kept us out of war in Syria. And now he's keeping us out of war with Iran. He hasn't done as much as I would have liked in terms of bringing back the troops, bring them out of Afghanistan and so forth. But he has refused methodically any expansion of the various wars that the U.S. has been involved in. No, I do not think that the final judgment is near. And so it's just a mistake to think. I mean, look at it this way. Israel is currently engaged in 4 shooting wars right now. 4 cross-border shooting wars. Just today, an Israeli tank was blown up by Hezbollah. So that's across the Lebanese border. Israel has dropped bombs in Syria and in Iraq, and maybe it's only 3 then. I guess it's only 3. But the point is, if Clinton was president, U.S. troops would probably be involved in all 3 of those countries already. Lineshare Logo says, David running towards Goliath and spearing him down, alpha move. Yes, tide of battle turned, fearless. Hillary would go to war with anyone who put $50 million in her offshore black market trafficking account, no doubt. Is it true that Israel has no debt? I don't believe so. I mean, you can probably look it up really quickly. I mean, Israel national. I mean, they've been socialist for most of the 50 years. No, their gross external debt is $95 billion, 41.6% of GDP. So, now they say something about how they're a net lender. But that's just assets for us. Anyhow, no, they're in debt like every other government. Can you explain the major differences between the American and British governments? Well, it's pretty simple. The U.S. runs a 2-party presidential system, and the British government runs a multi-party parliamentary system. Now, they do have a first past the post voting that turns them into kind of a 2-party system, but there's still plenty of ways to get around that. If there's insufficient difference between the 2 major parties, it is possible for third parties to rise up, like they've seen with the Brexit Party. I mean, you could get into the technical side of, well, Great Britain is a constitutional monarchy, but that's, essentially nonsense. In practical terms, it's the difference between the multi-party system and the 2-party system. Recommendation for news sites geared more towards high school teenagers. You're asking the wrong person. I would just use Drudge Report like everybody else. Getting inundated from friends citing super liberal news sources like BuzzFeed, etc. It's not about conservative versus liberal. The conservatives and the liberals all say the same thing. White people are bad. Everybody's good. War against foreign countries is good. Go Israel. I mean, that's the news from every liberal and conservative news site out there. So, I would just go, if you just want to get the basic, as close as you can get to just being told what the events are, just go directly to the AP. They're still biased, but what they report tends to be more the raw news, and then the various publications put their spin on it. Was the American Civil War just a continuation of the English Civil War? No. No. Was Breitbart always ultra-Zionist, or am I just noticing it now? No, Breitbart has always been ultra-Zionist. You need to remember that the main way that the clowns set things up is that they try to be in charge of both sides. You know, that's been their fundamental. I mean, that's been the way that they've survived and prospered for centuries, is try to be influencing both sides. And so, that's what you see here. That's why you see that both the heads of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are both ultra-Zionist. Satoshi Bear says, "Hey Vox, thanks for all you share. Big Bear mentioned something about contributing to his tour, and you'd provide the know-hows to it." Yeah, we're going to be providing those this week. Just give us a little more time. What made you become a very strong Christian? Being forced to confront the reality of evil, and being forced to recognize the lack of limits on the extent of human evil. Once you understand that evil exists, and that evil is real, and that evil is material, and you will eventually, usually sooner rather than later, come to realize that Christianity is the only force that truly opposes it. Buddhism doesn't oppose evil. Judaism doesn't oppose evil. Islam doesn't oppose evil. All those other religions are ways of coming to terms with and accepting and utilizing evil. Christianity is the only one that stands against it entirely. And you can see it even in something as similar, or something as simple as like rape. Look at every historical culture and every religious perspective on rape. You'll notice that the Christian perspective is the only one that really stands apart from all the others. That's just one example. So, it's always funny to me when people talk about the problem of evil. It's not a problem for Christianity. Christianity is dependent upon the existence of evil. If evil doesn't exist, there's no reason for Jesus Christ to come. There's no reason for Jesus Christ to die. There's no sin for him to be the sacrificial atonement. And so, for me, Christianity is simply a very practical reality that can't be denied. I don't know if that makes me a strong Christian or not, but I am a convinced Christian, an intellectually convinced Christian. Patrick Bergen says, the big obstacle for recovering omegas is morale. Not a question, just looking for encouragement to pursue projects I didn't have energy to before. Well, the encouragement I'll give you is don't be afraid to fail. It's fine to fail. Try to fail as fast as you can. Push the point, push it to the conflict point, the succeed or fail point, as quickly as you can. Because you never know what's going to work and what's not going to. I used to be one of those guys who tried to plan everything and tried to think through all the options and possibilities. And I've learned that that's just a bad idea. Because you can't. You won't. Marie Goulet says, Labor Day is stupid. That is all Vox. I don't disagree. But, a day off work is always nice. Let's see. Have you been evil? We all have. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But that's the beauty of the Christian concept and faith, is that we have the ability to repent. We have the ability to be forgiven, and we have the ability to accept that forgiveness, pick ourselves up, and try to do better next time. Vox, why do gammas tend to push the narrative that white American anti-vaxxers are the main problem for the new health issues popping up in the US? Because gammas don't think for themselves. They're just echoing the SJW narrative. You know, the real reason is immigration, but people don't want to stop immigration for various reasons, and so they're trying to come up with some other narrative. They've produced this false narrative to try to divert people's attention, and gammas fall for that kind of thing very easily. Ha! James indicates that he has no understanding of Buddhism whatsoever. Buddhism is supposed to oppose evil as I understand it. You don't understand it. You don't understand the first thing about Buddhism. It just seems to have been subverted like most religions. No, you need to never talk about religions. You clearly have not read anything about them, much less read the fundamental texts and stuff. Buddhism teaches that everything that we experience, everything that we see is Mara, illusion. It's not real. Evil is Mara, not real. And the only way to reach, the only way to transcend the illusion is to accept all of it. Buddhism is about accepting evil. It's about becoming totally indifferent to both good and evil. How you got the idea that it's supposed to oppose evil, I mean, that's basically the only people who think that are people who are coming from a Christian tradition but don't want to accept Christianity. And so what they do is they take the parts of Christianity that they like and they put it on these other religions totally inappropriately. You know, it's just, it's not correct. You know, I mean, I don't dislike Buddhism. You know, I mean, not that Hess was a Buddhist, but Siddhartha was one of the first true pieces of literature that I genuinely loved. And that was what initially stirred my interest in Buddhism. And in fact, I've been to the to the big Buddhist shrine in Japan, the primary one. And, you know, it appeals to the Stoic philosopher in me, but ultimately, I couldn't be indifferent to evil. So, yeah, this is a good point. Buddhism is a trap for whites that are too lazy to go to church but still want to feel spiritual. That pretty much covers it. I got the idea from the Pali Canon, the 10 perspectives that it says to cultivate. Yeah, you need to read a lot more deeply into it. There's not, it's just not what you think it is in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of funny, you know, when you study Asian literature like I did in college, it was always a little bit shocking to read about the Buddhist monks who were feared because they were basically like Scottish Highlanders who would come down from their mountain monasteries to raid the villagers. It's like, you would never ever read about the Christian monks raiding and pillaging. It's you know, it's just not what you think it is. Liberty Prime Barrett puts it well. The emotional rejection of Christianity leads to trying to imbue these other world religions with the very qualities of the faith they reject, and they don't even know it. That's correct. Would you do a new video or series on your various perspectives on Christianity? I tend to steer away from that because I'm not a theologian and I'm not an authority, and I don't really like people uh, taking me as one. Thank you for the consideration. Yeah, I'm willing to talk about it off the cuff. I'm just, if you notice, I don't write my books on it, and uh, I don't do serious videos on it. Hi Vox, do sigmas hate playing second banana to an alpha? No, because we don't. We don't play second banana. We just do our own thing. Sigmas are not part of the hierarchy. That's part of the key to understanding it. Matthew Morgan says Taco Bell is paring down its menu. I don't care if they pare down the menu to 3 things, as long as there's the bean and cheese burrito, cheese chilito, and just for kicks, the tostadas. They got those 3 things, that's all good. Vox, any opinion on Cormac McCarthy's books? Yes, I think they're terrible. I have no interest in them. I don't think he's a particularly good writer. I have no interest in his stories, no interest in them whatsoever. Shapiro's Big Bear Magic Stash Carpet near done. Apparently. Enrico Lay says Buddha clearly didn't see his body as a temple. No, definitely not. I don't know where the closest Taco Bell to me is. I know there's one in Barcelona, I think. I hope to visit that one someday. Chase Holmes says, in your experience, are sigmas often somewhat creative people? I'm trying to think. Not particularly, no. A lot of them I've seen to have one of those idea machine brains. Maybe it's a byproduct of independence. I don't know. Well, I guess I tend to see them more as like entrepreneurs rather than, artists and stuff. But there have been some artistic sigmas. I think it's orthogonal, to be honest. I don't think that it's related or disrelated. I would still like to hear your theory on why God chooses not to be omniscient. Well, I think because it's not interesting, would be my guess. There's plenty of things that I can know that I choose not to know. For example, let's say you're watching a delayed broadcast of a football game. The game's over. You can look the score up anytime you want to, and yet you don't. Why not? I suspect that's the same reason that God chooses to let things play out. I gave my son a quesadilla from Taco Bell. They have some weird sauce in it. Now I won't. Yeah, you gotta order it no red. Always order, whenever you're ordering from them, you always have to make sure you say no red sauce. Omegas have almost the same view of the social sexual hierarchy that sigmas do, but it's more like a view of the train from the caboose. Well, yeah, I mean, both omegas and sigmas are outside the hierarchy. It's just that sigmas are social winners and omegas are social losers. But neither sigma nor omega is part of the hierarchy, is interested in playing any part in the hierarchy. I mean, maybe some omegas might like to get into it. Actually, it's possible that some sigmas would like to be able to as well, but it's just they can't. They're not wired correctly. Do you have any opinion on the claims that some Buddhists can do supernatural feats? Oh, I expect they can. I would assume they can. So, Cholitos have been gone for years. That can't be true. I mean, they were gone before, but then they came back. They get rid of them again? That would make me sad. Do you believe a lot of the ancient religions were created by the fallen angels and Nephilim? I think that is a reasonable possibility, yes. Do they have Mexican restaurants in Italy? Yes, but they're not very good. Bring Taco Bell to a Barcelona living video, a Barcelona life video. Actually, that's an idea. Oh, there's a Taco Bell in Napoli. Huh, I didn't know that. Hellboy is always rejecting his status as a secret king or chosen one. Does this make him an anti-gamma? Hellboy might, in that case, Hellboy might be a Sigma. Let's see. There Verona, Bologna, and Rome. Okay. No, I don't miss green chili. We have good chili here. What wine goes with Taco Bell food? None. I would not. I would not have wine with Taco Bell. So, oh, I missed some super chats. Okay, let me look these up. Vox, I have a completely unstolen comedy bit about the LBGTQ talking to each other. Can I have a channel and unauthorized? Yeah, after we finish getting David Chappelle's channel set up. Do you think there were any Nephilim who repented? Maybe. I don't know. Never thought about it. There is Taco Bell in Aviano. Thomas W. says, thoughts on John C. Wright? John C. Wright is one of the 3 greatest living authors of science fiction. I think he's a wonderful writer. He's a good man. I'm very proud to have published a number of his books. He's kind of, we still publish some of his books. Very proud to do so. Pleased to do so. He's kind of doing his own thing now with Superversive with his wife and some others. And, I certainly wish him well. I don't have any problem with John. None whatsoever. Chase Holmes, we got that one. Talios Hammerfist says, any tips on how to develop your characters over a course of a novel, specifically fantasy? Just know who your character is and allow their natural reactions to the changing situation to dictate the plot. Don't force them to fit the plot, because that's where you violate the character. So as you keep throwing new situations at them and you allow them to react naturally, you will have natural character progression and development. What's the appeal of poetry, specifically non-rhyming poetry? I don't understand the appeal of non-rhyming poetry, because the whole appeal of poetry is its repetitiveness, its rhythm, and from the writing side, the creative side, the challenge of working within the limits. Try and Speak says, what you just said made me impatient to say I will be baptized in the Orthodox Church in 2 weeks. Thank you to you and Owen for the part you played. That's great. Congratulations. And happy to have played any role, however small, in that. Do you think Milton's Paradise Lost was similar to what actually happened? No. No, it's fiction. Let's not get carried away. Was it good to call Jerusalem the capital of Israel? Yes, I think things should be called what they are. Jerusalem is the capital of that nation state, so pretending otherwise is just silly. All right, and I think we're caught up. Something about, and Autarky Bear said, Vox, you can confuse me, but I like you anyway. So that's nice. Oh, here we go. Ganji Blob Flanka says, deselecting snakes is huge. Boris sees that if he gets us out of the EU, he stands among the mythical giants of history. Alpha ego works for us here. That is exactly my perspective. I don't think that Boris Johnson is a particularly good or reliable man. I know that he's not a real nationalist. He's got plenty of identity complications himself. But he wants to be considered one of the great leaders of England. And the only way that he can achieve that is to lead his country out of the EU and back into sovereignty. Zoomer Bear said, had Taco Bell last night and thought of you. God bless. Well, I was going to say, I hope you enjoyed it, except it's Taco Bell. I know you did. And there are more links that say no Taco Bell in Italy. Well, we'll have to see. Hey, Vox, your blog post on the Bronze Age pervert mindset was good. As others have noted, though your take on the book's thesis being devoid of philosophical or moral framework seems not fully informed, not an attack. I'm not fully informed on him. I haven't read it. I was taking the author of the piece at his word when he quoted the author as saying that it is not a philosophical work or a philosophical perspective. So if it is, fine. But I'm not. It's not a big deal to me. I have no intention of reading it. James M said, "Would you do an episode on your view of Buddhism? I did train in monasteries, but I'm not averse to your view. I view what has happened to it as more as degeneration over thousands of years." Well, I don't think that's very likely if you look at what it was during the Heian Japan period, which was at least 700 years ago. So, but yeah, we'll talk about it sometime. I don't have any problem with that. A frittili is a deep-fried calzone we used to get on San Vito Air Station in Italy in the 80s. Delicious, great for the belly, but not the heart. Okay. Marie, I did nothing with Owen's lip stash. He's already apologized for falsely accusing me. So, all right. Well, on that note, I will let you go. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good weekend. Remember that Owen's tour is now sold out, except for the meet and greets, but there's plenty of other ways to support it that are coming. But you can still get tickets to Idaho. So if you're interested in seeing his show, make sure you go to Idaho. On that note, I will wish you a good evening. This is the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day.